It started with a ping. Just one. One little sound from my phone, like a digital pebble dropped into still water. I was sitting on the couch, coffee in hand, half watching a documentary on sea turtles. My wife, Lauren, was at work, at least, that's what I thought. I had the day off. A random Tuesday. I remember it clearly because it was supposed to be uneventful. Peaceful. Mundane. That ping changed everything. It was a notification from a popular social media app, one I barely used. Some algorithm decided I needed to see a trending video. The thumbnail was blurry, dark. A man and a woman in an office setting. The caption read, "They don't hesitate to do this even in the office during working hours." I almost scrolled past it. But something about the silhouette of the woman, her profile, the curve of her jawline, the way she threw her head back, froze me. My stomach clenched. My thumb hovered over the screen. No. It couldn't be. That wasn't Lauren. I tapped the video. It was grainy. The angle was from a high corner of a room, a security camera, maybe. The footage looked like it had been leaked. The man had his back to the camera. The woman faced slightly away, but there were moments when she turned just enough. And then, clear as day, a laugh. Her laugh. That high, nervous giggle she did when she was trying to seem composed but was clearly overwhelmed. I dropped my coffee. The mug hit the hardwood floor and shattered. I didn't even flinch. I watched the rest of the video in some kind of trance. It wasn't graphic, not really. It didn't need to be. The gestures, the closeness, the sheer familiarity of it all screamed betrayal. They weren't strangers fumbling through an impulsive mistake. They were comfortable. Practiced. I stared at the screen until it went dark. The sound of the broken mug pieces scratching under my feet brought me back. My hands were shaking. I picked up the pieces slowly, methodically. Almost like a ritual. Something to ground me. I didn't cry. Not yet. Not even close. Instead, I opened my laptop. I needed answers. Lauren had told me about her new job 6 months ago. She was excited. Said the people were great, that the office culture was fun but productive. She mentioned her boss a few times. Greg. Said he was sharp, ambitious. A little intense. I searched for the company's website, scrolled through their team photos. And there he was. Greg. The same man from the video. He had his arm around a dog in the picture, grinning like a guy with no secrets. I slammed the laptop shut. That's when the questions began. Had it been going on since she started there? Was this a one-time thing? Was it still happening? Did she even love me? Had she ever? The weight of it all sat on my chest like a boulder. I needed to confront her. But how? I couldn't just blurt out, "Hey, I saw a viral video of you and your boss hooking up at work." So I waited. I waited 6 hours. At 6:47 p.m., I heard her key in the door. "Hey, babe," she called, the way she always did. Her voice, light, casual. I was sitting at the kitchen table, the video paused on my laptop screen, minimized but ready. She walked in, dropped her purse, gave me a peck on the cheek. "How was your day off?" I studied her face. She looked tired. Maybe a little distracted. But not guilty. Not haunted. "Fine," I said. "Yours?" She shrugged, went to the fridge. Busy. Greg was on a warpath. One of the clients messed up a delivery and blamed us. Total nightmare. I nodded slowly. Must be stressful. You have no idea. And then she turned. Smiled at me. That same smile I'd seen in wedding photos, in quiet Sunday mornings, in our most intimate moments. It made me sick. "Lauren," I said, my voice low. "Can you sit down for a sec?" She frowned, but obeyed. "What's going on?" I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the laptop. Brought up the video. Hit play. For a moment, she just stared. Then her face drained of color. She stood up. "Where did you get this?" "It's everywhere," I said. It's viral. I recognized your laugh. Oh my God, she whispered, backing away from the screen like it was poisonous. How long? I asked. It's not what you think. I laughed. It was bitter. Cold. Don't. Please don't insult me. Just tell me the truth. She looked at me for a long time. Then she sank back into the chair. Covered her face with her hands. It started 3 months ago. My chest tightened. Why? She shook her head. I don't know. I was overwhelmed. He was persistent. It just happened. That's not an answer, Lauren. That's an excuse. She looked up, eyes rimmed with tears. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I thought I could stop. But you didn't. She nodded slowly. No. I stood up. Walked to the sink. I needed distance. Air. Something to stop the nausea building in my gut. I wanted to tell you, she said. But I was scared. Scared of what? Losing me. Or losing your job. She didn't answer. Silence stretched between us. Thick. Suffocating. Do you love him? I asked. Her eyes widened. No. God, no. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Lauren? She couldn't explain. And I didn't push further. Because in that moment, I realized something chilling. It wasn't just the betrayal that broke me. It was the calmness of her face as she told me. The way she didn't beg, didn't scream, didn't collapse. This wasn't a woman caught in a moment of weakness. This was a woman who had made a choice. And that, I think, hurt more than anything else. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did she. She stayed on the couch, and I lay in our bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how many other things I had missed. How many smiles, how many kisses had been lies in disguise. The next morning, the video had been taken down. But it didn't matter. The damage was already done. And this was just the beginning. I didn't say a word to Lauren that morning. She offered coffee, like everything was normal. Her eyes were red and swollen, but her voice tried to steady itself. I didn't touch the mug she placed on the counter. Just stared at it like it was part of some dream I couldn't wake up from. Eventually, she left for work. And I sat in silence. You know that numb feeling after a car crash? That hollow ringing in your ears, like your brain hasn't caught up yet. That's what it felt like. I kept checking the video, even though it was gone. Scrubbed clean from the platform, probably by the company's PR team. But the image, her face, his hands, their rhythm, stayed burned in my mind. I didn't eat. Didn't shower. I just sat at the table, thinking. Wondering how we got here. Because I wasn't perfect. I knew that. There were days I got lost in work, forgot birthdays, fell asleep during movies she loved. But I was loyal. Honest. I loved her. And in my mind, that was supposed to count for something. Around noon, I opened a folder on my computer labeled Future. It was where we kept vacation plans, house upgrade ideas, a baby name list. Yeah. We talked about kids. And now I didn't know if any of it had ever been real. The next few days were a blur. Lauren came home every night, tried to talk. I couldn't. I wasn't ready. I slept in the guest room. She stopped leaving the house unless she had to. Her phone barely left her hand, and once, I saw her crying in the backyard, talking to someone. Probably her sister. Maybe Greg. I didn't ask. On the 4th night, I broke. We were in the kitchen again. She was pouring wine, like maybe the right vintage could smooth over shattered trust. I can't do this, I said, my voice hoarse from disuse. She turned, startled. What do you mean? I can't pretend. I can't act like we're okay. I'm not pretending, she said softly. I'm trying. You made a choice, Lauren. A deliberate, repeated choice. You didn't trip and fall into his office. I know, she said. I know I messed up. I'm not asking you to forgive me. Not yet. I'm asking you to let me try to fix it. And how exactly do you plan on doing that? She paused. Therapy. Honesty. Time. I laughed again. That cold, humorless laugh that had become my new default. Time doesn't fix this. You can't rewind a marriage. I'm not giving up, she said firmly. Not on us. And maybe that's when I realized how badly she'd misread me. Because in that moment, I had given up. Not out of spite. Out of heartbreak. A week passed. Then too. I started eating again. Went back to work. People noticed something was off, but no one said anything. You know how it is, everyone's scared to ask. But I saw the looks. The sympathy. The assumptions. Some of them had seen the video. I knew it. And then, something strange happened. I got a message. An anonymous account. No profile picture. The message read, "You're not the only one. Greg's done this before." Attached was a screenshot, another video, this time of Greg and a different woman. Same office. Same setup. Different year. The woman was blurred, but the resemblance to Lauren was striking. I clicked the profile. Dozens of posts. Stories. Comments from others claiming the same thing. A pattern. It wasn't just an affair. It was a routine. He groomed them. Charmed them. Used them. And Lauren, she wasn't the first. Or the last. I didn't know what to feel. Anger. Relief. Nothing came clearly. I saved the screenshot. Sat in front of it for an hour. Then I called her. She answered immediately. "Hey. You okay?" "Come home," I said. She was there in 20 minutes, breathless and cautious. "I need to show you something," I said, sliding my phone across the table. She looked. Her face went blank. "I don't understand," she whispered. "He's done this before, Lauren. You weren't special. You were next." She blinked. "What? How did you?" "Someone sent it. He's a predator. He knew exactly what he was doing." Her knees buckled. She sat down hard, covering her mouth. "I thought," she said. "I thought I had control. He targeted you. And you walked into it." She started sobbing. Real, broken sobs. Not performative. Not defensive. Just grief. And for the first time, I felt something other than rage. Pity. She'd been used. Manipulated. Lied to. Just like me. But the difference was, I didn't betray anyone to get there. "I want to report him," she said through tears. "To HR. To someone. He can't keep doing this." "You should," I said. "Not for me. For you." She nodded. "I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm so sorry." I didn't answer. Because sorry doesn't erase scars. But maybe it's the first step in understanding how deep they go. That night, I didn't sleep in the guest room. I didn't sleep at all. I stayed on the couch, watching the ceiling, thinking about patterns. About how easily we fall into them. And how hard it is to break free. The next morning, she made the call. Filed the report. And Greg, as it turned out, had a history. Quiet settlements. Confidential agreements. HR had known. But this time, it was different. This time, it was public. Lauren didn't go back to that job. And I didn't move out. Not yet. But the silence between us had changed. Less icy. More uncertain. We were both broken. But maybe, just maybe, we weren't beyond repair. Or maybe we were. I didn't know yet. But the story wasn't over. Not even close. It's a strange thing, learning to live with someone you no longer trust. Everything becomes a calculation. A performance. You weigh each word, each glance. You look at them across the breakfast table and wonder, do I really know this person? or just the version they let me see. That's what it was like with Lauren. We stayed in the same house. Shared meals. Paid bills. But the thread that once connected us, that invisible bond of certainty, was gone. Severed. And all that remained was a quiet, heavy presence. Like the ghost of something once beautiful. She tried. I'll give her that. She started seeing a therapist. Twice a week. She'd come home with red eyes and a notebook full of scribbles. She started journaling. Cooking more. Asking questions about my day, my feelings, my thoughts. But the problem wasn't effort. The problem was time. Every memory we had was tainted. Every milestone we celebrated, I now questioned. When we went to Charleston for our 3rd anniversary, was she already bored of me? When she hugged me on the day I got my promotion, was she thinking about him? I hated that my mind did that. That it searched for cracks in the past just because it found an earthquake in the present. But how do you unsee something? How do you erase a betrayal that played out right in front of your eyes? One night, about 3 weeks after the video surfaced, we sat on the porch. It was late. Cold. She brought out 2 mugs of tea and handed me one, her fingers brushing mine. I flinched. "Daniel," she said softly. "You're not even looking at me anymore." I stared straight ahead. "I don't know how. I miss you. You miss who I used to be. I miss us." I turned to her, finally. And asked the question I'd been avoiding. "Why didn't you stop it?" She inhaled slowly. "Because I thought it filled something. Some empty space inside me. Greg, he made me feel powerful. Wanted. Like I mattered. And I didn't. You did. But you're safe. Familiar. That shouldn't be a bad thing, but..." I twisted it. I convinced myself you wouldn't notice. That I could keep both lives. "Did you ever think about what it would do to me if I found out?" She looked down. "Every day. And you still kept doing it." She nodded, tears forming again. I was selfish. I didn't respond. Just sipped the tea. It was chamomile. My favorite. She remembered. "Are you still seeing him?" I asked, without emotion. "No. I haven't spoken to him since the HR report." "Do you miss him?" She shook her head violently. "No. I miss feeling in control. That's what he gave me. The illusion that I was stronger than I am." I leaned back, watching the stars. "You know, I used to imagine us growing old together. Rocking chairs. A big garden. Maybe a golden retriever named Max." She gave a sad laugh. "I pictured that too." "Well," I said, finishing the tea. "Guess we'll see if that dream survives the fire." The next few days were quiet. She kept writing. I started running again, early mornings, headphones in, trying to outrun the memory. It helped. A little. But then something happened that brought everything crashing back. I was at the grocery store, picking up bread and some coffee, when I heard a voice behind me. "Hey. You're Lauren's husband, right?" I turned. A young woman stood there. Mid-20s. Nervous eyes. "Yes," I said cautiously. I used to work with her. At Greg's company." I froze. "I saw the video," she said quickly. "And I just wanted to say. I'm sorry. That shouldn't have happened to either of you." I didn't know what to say. She continued, voice lower. "He did the same thing to me. 3 years ago. He told me I was special. That no one would understand us. That he'd leave his wife eventually." I blinked. "He's married." "Yeah. Has 2 kids. It's all a mess. HR knew about the rumors, but they never acted until now. Your wife's report was the one that finally stuck." I looked at her, really looked at her. She was younger than Lauren. Timid. Kind. "I'm sorry he did that to you," I said, surprising even myself. She nodded. "If it means anything, your wife always talked about you. Not in a weird way. Just, she loved you. It was obvious. And then she left. I stood in the aisle, heart pounding. That night, I told Lauren. About the girl. The grocery store. The conversation. She sat very still. Do you believe her? She asked. I believe he targeted you. Manipulated you. She swallowed. But I still betrayed you. Yes. So what now? I looked at her. Really looked. For the first time in weeks, I saw not the woman from the video, but the woman I married. Tired. Flawed. But real. I don't know, I admitted. But I don't hate you. Her lips trembled. That's more than I deserve. Maybe. But it's what I have. She reached for my hand. I didn't pull away. Not right away. We stayed like that, silent, connected, unsure, while the wind outside rustled the windows. Maybe we wouldn't make it. Maybe the story would end in courtrooms and apartment leases and half-signed divorce papers. Or maybe, not today, not tomorrow, but eventually, we'd find our way back. Not to what we were. But to something new. Something scarred, but stronger. Something earned. We didn't rush anything after that night. It wasn't like in the movies, no sudden hug, no teary-eyed reconciliation under soft lighting and piano music. Real life doesn't work that way. Healing, if it happens at all, is slow. Uneven. It moves like tidewater, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Lauren started sleeping in our bed again. At first, we stayed on opposite sides. A mile of sheets between us. But I let her be there. I think some part of me needed to test whether I could look at her in the morning light and not feel the immediate urge to pull away. The first week was hard. She cried a lot. Quietly, at night. Thought I didn't hear, but I did. I didn't say anything. I didn't know what to say. Her guilt was a presence in the room, almost heavier than my pain. We lived side by side, 2 ghosts in a house built for the living. But then something shifted. One morning, I woke up before her. She was curled toward me, barely an inch between our shoulders. I watched her sleep. For the first time in months, I didn't feel resentment flooding my chest. I just felt tired. So tired of being angry. Of analyzing every breath, every glance. Later that day, she asked me to go with her to a therapy session. I almost said no. But I didn't. I went. The office was small, warm, with soft chairs and neutral colors. The therapist, a woman in her 50s, greeted us kindly, but didn't smile too much. I liked that. She didn't treat this like a game. I know this is difficult, she said. But if you're both willing to be uncomfortable, there's a chance we can rebuild something honest. Lauren looked at me, eyes searching. I nodded. The session was brutal. Lauren talked. I listened. Then I talked. She listened. We covered everything. The affair. The lies. The silence. The way it made me feel disposable, stupid, like the last person in the room to get the joke. And then, unexpectedly, she told the therapist something I'd never heard before. When I was a kid, she said, my dad cheated on my mom. He lied for years. She found out when I was 13. They stayed together, but nothing was ever the same. I told myself, if I ever got married, I'd never be the one to destroy the trust. She paused. Tears gathered in her eyes. And then I did. The therapist asked her, what do you think made you repeat the pattern? Lauren shook her head. I don't know. Maybe I wanted to feel in control. Maybe I thought if I did it first, if I became the threat, I could never be blindsided. I stared at her. You thought I would cheat on you. Not you. Not specifically. But life. People. Love. It always felt temporary. That hit something deep. Because the woman I thought I married was strong. Decisive. Warm. But this woman, sitting across from me, unraveling slowly, was afraid. Afraid of being left, of being ordinary, of being forgotten. And somehow, that fear had led her right into the arms of the very thing she hated. The session ended. Neither of us spoke much on the drive home. But something was different. There was an openness now. Raw. Unfiltered. Over the next few weeks, we kept going. To therapy. To hard conversations. To awkward dinners where we relearned how to be around each other. We made rules. Total transparency. No secrets. No passive-aggressive games. And, above all, honesty, even when it hurt. It wasn't perfect. There were nights I woke up from dreams of her and Greg, my heart pounding like I'd run a marathon. There were mornings she caught me staring at her like I was trying to solve a puzzle I couldn't quite finish. But we didn't give up. Then came the letter. I found it in the mail one Saturday afternoon. A plain envelope. No return address. Inside was a typed note. You deserve better. I was wrong. I hope one day you can forgive her, and yourself. G. Just that. No explanation. No apology for what he'd done to multiple women. Just this. I showed it to Lauren. She read it. Folded it. Said nothing. I wanted to burn it. Instead, I filed it away in the same folder where our wedding photos lived. A reminder that the past doesn't just disappear. You carry it. You either let it rot you, or you turn it into armor. That night, we sat outside again. She reached for my hand. I let her. Do you think we'll ever be okay? She asked. I don't know. I hope so. I hope so, too. The air was quiet. Crickets. A dog barking down the street. The smell of honeysuckle. Sometimes I wish you'd just left, she said suddenly. Why? Because staying means you're still hurting. I see it every day. I squeezed her hand. Leaving doesn't stop the pain. It just gives it a different address. She looked at me, and in her eyes, I saw the woman I married. And the woman who betrayed me. Both. At the same time. I love you, she whispered. It took everything in me to answer. But I did. I still love you, too. Because it was true. Not in the fairy tale way. Not in the fresh, clean, first love kind of way. But in the way a soldier loves his country after battle. Wounded. Exhausted. But still standing. Maybe that's what real love is. Not perfect. Not unbroken. But chosen. Again and again. Even when it's hard. Especially then. I wish I could say that after that night, everything got easier. It didn't. In some ways, it got harder. Because once you admit you still love someone who broke you, you have to face the next question: what does that love even look like now? I didn't have an answer. Neither did Lauren. We just knew we weren't ready to walk away. Some days were good. We laughed, cooked together, talked late into the night like we used to when we first started dating. It felt almost normal. Other days, I'd catch a smell, a phrase, a sudden look in her eyes, and something inside me would collapse. I'd go cold, shut down, drift into myself. She learned not to push. Just gave me space. Sometimes that was all I needed. Other times, I wasn't sure. One Sunday afternoon, we went to visit her parents. It was Lauren's idea. She said she wanted things to feel grounded again. Real. That maybe seeing the people who raised her, who knew us as Daniel and Lauren the couple, would remind us who we were before everything shattered. We pulled into the driveway. White house. Blue shutters. The same wind chimes that had annoyed me on every visit, still clinking gently. Her mom greeted us with a tight hug. Her dad, reserved as always, nodded and patted me on the back. Nobody said anything about the scandal. But I saw the way her mother looked at me. Like she was searching for signs of damage. Or maybe forgiveness. Over dinner, the conversation stayed light. Safe. Football. Gas prices. The neighbor's new puppy. But when Lauren went to help her mom in the kitchen, her dad leaned over the table. You doing okay, son? I hesitated. Trying. He nodded slowly. I don't know the full story. Don't need to. Just know, it takes strength to stay. But it takes even more to walk away when something's already broken. I looked at him. He held my gaze. Don't stay out of pride. And don't leave out of anger. Do what gives you peace. That stuck with me. Because I hadn't really thought about peace. I'd been too caught up in damage control, ours, hers, mine, to think about what healing might actually look like for me. On the drive home, I told Lauren what he said. She was quiet for a while. Then, would it give you peace to leave? I looked out the window. I don't know. But it doesn't feel like staying is stealing my peace either. Not anymore. She nodded. That means something. And it did. A few weeks later, we went to a friend's wedding. It was our first real public appearance since the video. I almost backed out. Couldn't shake the feeling that everyone would stare, whisper, do the math in their heads. But Lauren insisted. We have to face the world eventually. Together or apart. Let's try together. I wore the same suit I'd worn to our wedding. It still fit. Mostly. She wore a navy blue dress that reminded me of our honeymoon. Something about the way the fabric moved when she walked, it took me back. And for a few seconds, I forgot. Forgot the video. Forgot Greg. Forgot the betrayal. We danced once. A slow song. Neither of us spoke. I just counted her heartbeats against my chest. After the reception, as we walked to the car, someone stopped us. A woman, mid-30s, glass of champagne in hand. I recognized her vaguely, Lauren's coworker from years back. Hey, she said, a little tipsy. You two still together? After, you know. Lauren froze. I answered. Yeah. Still together. The woman tilted her head, examining us like we were some rare species. Huh. Guess love does conquer all. Or maybe you're just really forgiving. She walked off, laughing at her own words. Lauren wouldn't meet my eyes. In the car, she whispered, I'm sorry. Why? For making you carry this weight in public. For making our private pain a public joke. I reached over, touched her hand. You didn't make me carry anything. I chose to. She looked at me. Why? I thought for a long moment. Because you're not the worst thing you've ever done. And neither am I. She started crying again, softly. But this time, I didn't feel helpless. I pulled over, turned off the engine, and just held her. That night, something changed. Not drastically. But enough. We made love for the first time since it all happened. It wasn't passionate, or wild. It was slow. Careful. Honest. Two people trying to rediscover something they thought they'd lost. Afterward, we lay tangled in silence. She whispered, thank you. And I whispered back, don't thank me. Just don't lie to me ever again. I won't, she promised. Not even a little. And I believed her. I wanted to believe her. You don't rebuild trust with grand gestures. You do it like this. One day at a time. One truth at a time. One choice at a time. A few mornings later, I woke up to find a small package on the kitchen table. My name was written on the envelope in her handwriting. Inside was a photo album. On the first page, she'd written. Not a highlight reel. Not the best parts. Just the real parts. Us. As we are. As we were. As we might still be. Each page had photos of moments I'd forgotten. Us painting the garage and getting more paint on ourselves than the walls. Her in the hospital when I had surgery, asleep in the chair beside my bed. Me holding her after she got a bad call from work. Real moments. Quiet ones. Unfiltered. I flipped through it slowly. At the end, there was one last note. I can't erase the worst chapter. But maybe we can keep writing. If you want to. I stood there for a long time, holding that album. And I knew my answer. Yes. I wanted to keep writing. because the story wasn't over. Not yet. Time has a way of softening the edges of pain. Not erasing it, just dulling it enough so you can touch the memory without immediately recoiling. That's where we were, months later. Still together. Still healing. Still learning what it meant to live in the aftermath of betrayal without letting it define us. I'd be lying if I said the doubts were gone. They weren't. Sometimes I'd still wake in the middle of the night, heart racing, convinced that it had all been a dream, that I'd imagined the video, the heartbreak, the nights on the guest bed. But then I'd see her beside me, sleeping softly, her hand curled on my pillow, and I'd remember, it was real. All of it. And still, we were here. There was something oddly beautiful about that. We didn't rush to label what we were anymore. Were we reconciled? In recovery? Stronger than before? I didn't know. Labels felt too small. We were simply two people who hadn't given up. We went back to therapy. Not every week, but often enough to keep the conversations honest. Our therapist once told us, rebuilding trust is like replanting a forest. You can't rush it. You can only water it and wait. We kept watering. Lauren found a new job. A nonprofit focused on youth outreach. Smaller team. Less pressure. No Gregs. She was different at home too. Softer, more present. She didn't flinch when I brought up the past, and I didn't use the past to punish her. We even started hosting dinners again, something we'd stopped doing long before the affair. Our friends were cautious at first, unsure of how close to stand, what topics to avoid. But slowly, they relaxed. And so did we. Then, one weekend in early spring, we took a trip. Just the two of us. It wasn't far, just a cabin in the mountains a few hours away. But it felt like stepping into a different world. No phones. No social media. Just trees, fresh air, and a wood-burning stove. On our second night, after a long hike and a quiet dinner, we sat on the porch wrapped in blankets. A fire crackled nearby. She leaned her head against my shoulder. I was scared you'd never touch me again, she said softly. I was scared I'd never want to. And now. I thought for a moment. Now, I realize forgiveness isn't a moment. It's a decision I make every day. Some days I get it right. Others, not so much. She nodded. Same. Then she turned and looked at me, really looked at me. Do you still see it when you look at me? She asked. The video. She nodded, eyes glassy. I didn't lie. Sometimes. Not like before. But it's there. Like a scar. I hate that I put it there. I hate that it exists. But I don't hate you. A single tear slid down her cheek. She whispered, I still dream about the day you found out. That look on your face. I swallowed. It's not a look I ever want to give again. To anyone. Silence stretched between us. Not awkward. Just full. Then she said something I wasn't expecting. I want to renew our vows. I turned to her. I know it's soon, she added quickly. And maybe it's not even the right time. But I need to say it. Out loud. In front of people. That I choose you. Again. Not because I'm trying to erase anything. But because I want to acknowledge what we've survived. I stared at her, heart pounding. Part of me wanted to say yes right then and there. To stand up and plan a ceremony, to start fresh. But another part, the cautious, wounded part, held back. I'm not ready, I said gently. But I think I'm getting there. She smiled. Not with disappointment, but understanding. I can wait, she said. We've come this far. What's a little more time? We spent the rest of that trip in a kind of suspended peace. Hikes. Quiet meals. Reading by the fire. It was the first time in a long while I'd felt like the world had stopped spinning long enough for me to catch my breath. When we got home, something felt different. Not dramatically. But I noticed I wasn't flinching when her phone buzzed. She noticed I was laughing more. We were, in our own way, becoming something new. And then, a letter arrived. Not a message. A real, handwritten letter. It was from one of the other women Greg had targeted. She'd found Lauren through the HR complaint trail and tracked down our mailing address through mutual acquaintances. Her letter was raw, emotional, and full of things Lauren had never told me, about how Greg built his web, how he isolated each woman, how he created fear and dependency dressed as romance. Lauren read it first, then handed it to me. I didn't realize how much of it wasn't my choice, she whispered. Until I saw it written out by someone else. I nodded. He manipulated you. She looked at me. But I still let him. That part's mine. I didn't argue. Accountability and compassion aren't opposites. Sometimes they live side by side, like light and shadow. We decided to respond to the letter together. To thank her. To let her know she wasn't alone. That we weren't, either. Lauren even started attending a support group, not just for victims of workplace misconduct, but for people trying to rebuild after betrayal. She invited me to come. I said I'd think about it. Because the truth is, I still don't know where this story ends. Maybe we'll make it. Maybe we won't. But I do know this. We are not who we were. And somehow, despite everything, I think we're better for it. I never thought I'd say this, but I started to feel proud of us. Not in the smug, Instagram quote, look at our strength, kind of way. No, it was quieter than that. A private sort of pride. The kind that comes from walking through fire and realizing you're still holding hands on the other side. It had been almost a year since the video. 1 year since the worst thing I'd ever seen played out on my phone screen while I sat drinking coffee in my own living room. And now, Lauren and I were different. Not perfect. Not even close. But more real. More intentional. And maybe, in some strange way, more honest than we had ever been before. We had bad days, of course. Days when a question hit too hard. When the silence was too long. When one of us got defensive, or distant, or tired of explaining our feelings for the 5th time in a week. But those days were now the exception, not the rule. And we'd learned how to come back from them. That, in itself, was a miracle. One Friday evening in June, we were invited to a barbecue at a friend's house. I wasn't sure I wanted to go. I still didn't love crowds. I still worried about the whispers, especially from people who'd known us before everything fell apart. But Lauren said, let's go. Let's just show up and be ourselves. No explanations. So we went. The backyard was full of laughter and the smell of charcoal. People hugged us. Asked how we were. Some with genuine warmth, others with thinly veiled curiosity. And then someone said something I didn't expect. An old friend of ours, James, pulled me aside and said, "Man, I've been watching you too. I don't know how you did it, but you look stronger now." I raised an eyebrow. Stronger? He nodded. Yeah. Like, whatever happened, it didn't kill you. That's rare. I didn't know what to say. Because it hadn't killed us. But it had broken us. And what we rebuilt after that wasn't the same. It never would be. But maybe it didn't need to be. On the way home, I told Lauren what James had said. She smiled softly. He's right. We are stronger. I don't know if I'd use that word. Then what would you call it? Stubborn, maybe. She laughed. Well, maybe love is just stubbornness that refuses to quit. That line stuck with me. Because I'd thought love was supposed to be easy. Natural. Effortless. But maybe real love was the opposite. Maybe real love was messy. Full of scars and second chances. Full of painful conversations and quiet mornings where you choose, consciously, to stay. That same weekend, Lauren got a call from a lawyer. One of the women from the support group had filed a formal suit against Greg and the company. Lauren's name had come up in the complaint. They wanted to know if she'd be willing to testify. I watched her as she listened on the phone. Saw her shoulders tense. Her hand shook just slightly as she set the phone down. They want me to speak in court, she said. I didn't pressure her. Just nodded. How do you feel about it? Scared. But I think I should. Not just for them. For me. Then I'll be there. She looked at me, grateful but also uncertain. You don't have to go through this again. I already did, I said. This time, we do it together. In the weeks that followed, things moved fast. Statements. Depositions. Witness lists. Lauren spent nights writing out what she would say. Rewriting it. Crossing things out. Sometimes I found her pacing in the kitchen at 2 a.m., whispering her testimony to herself like it was a prayer. She wasn't just preparing to speak against Greg. She was preparing to reclaim a part of herself. The part he manipulated. Part that betrayed me. The part that had been silent for too long. The day of the hearing, we dressed in quiet. I watched her put on a simple navy suit. No jewelry. No makeup. Just herself. She looked stronger than I'd ever seen her. At the courthouse, she held my hand tightly. When it was her turn to speak, she walked to the front of the room and paused. And then she told the truth. Not just about the affair. But about how she'd been broken before it ever happened. How Greg had seen that. How he had made her feel valuable, only to take that value away when she stopped playing along. She didn't cry. She didn't shake. She stood still. Steady. Real. I'd never been prouder of her. After it ended, she collapsed into my arms, trembling. I did it, she whispered. Yes. You did. Later that night, back home, she asked me, "Are you still angry?" I thought about it. Not in the same way. I'm still healing. But I'm not angry at you anymore. She nodded slowly. And you trust me again? Not fully. But I believe you're trying to be worthy of trust. That matters. She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for months. Do you still want to renew our vows someday? She asked. I turned to her. Yes, I said. Not because I want to forget the past. But because I want to prove that we survived it. She smiled. And for the first time, I believed we actually could. We stood in the garden we used to dream about. It wasn't perfect. Some of the hedges were uneven. The grass had bare patches where the sprinkler broke last fall. But it was ours. And it was enough. 1 year and 8 months after the video surfaced, after everything fell apart, we renewed our vows, just the two of us. No church. No guests. No fanfare. Just Lauren, me, and a small table with 2 glasses of wine and a notebook between us. We wrote our vows in silence that morning. No peeking, no rehearsing. She sat on the porch. I sat inside. Every word mattered now. When the sun began to set, she took my hand and led me to the middle of the garden. We stood facing each other, older than the day we got married, more cautious, more scarred. But also, more real. She went first. Daniel, she said, voice trembling, when I married you the first time, I believed love would protect us from the world. I thought we were invincible. But I was wrong. Not about you, about love. She swallowed. Love doesn't shield you from pain. It doesn't keep you from making mistakes. Love doesn't stop the storm, it walks through it with you. I failed you. I broke the vow I made. But today, I make a new one, not to be perfect, but to be honest. Not to never fall, but to never stop trying. I choose you. Not the fantasy of you. You. With every flaw, and every truth. My hands were shaking when I unfolded my page. Lauren, I began, when I married you, I thought love was about consistency. About stability. About keeping promises no matter what. And when you broke that promise, I didn't think we'd survive it. I paused. But we did. Not by pretending it didn't happen. Not by brushing it aside. But by standing still and looking directly at the wreckage, and saying, we're not done. I'm not done. I looked at her. You hurt me. But you also owned it. You didn't run. You stayed, even when I couldn't look at you. You fought to fix what you broke. That matters. So today, I make a new vow, too. I vow to see you as a whole person. Not just the one who hurt me, but the one who healed beside me. I choose you. Not as a second chance, but as a new beginning. We didn't cry. We didn't kiss immediately. We just stood there, letting the wind move through us. Two people, cracked open by life, still holding on. And in that moment, I knew, this wasn't about returning to what we had. This was about honoring what we became. Over the following weeks, life slowly settled into something peaceful. Not perfect. Not cinematic. But deeply lived. We went to therapy less often now, but still checked in. Like tuning an old piano, not because it sounded bad, but because we wanted to keep the music right. We told a few close friends about the vow renewal. One of them said, "You two are the weirdest kind of inspiration I've ever seen." We laughed at that. Because, yeah. It was weird. It was weird to still be in love with someone who hurt you. Weird to admit that forgiveness is not a final act, but a living, breathing commitment. Weird to build something beautiful out of something that once made you want to burn the world down. But here's what I learned. Love isn't clean. It's not always noble. It doesn't always make sense. Sometimes, it comes back to you wearing different clothes. Sometimes it limps. Sometimes it forgets what it meant to be sacred. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it learns how to speak again. In your language. In your timing. With your scars. One evening, Lauren and I went through that old folder on my laptop again, the one labeled Future. So much of it had aged like milk. Plans that no longer made sense. Lists we'd never completed. Versions of ourselves that no longer existed. But there were photos in there, too. One of her dancing barefoot in the kitchen. One of me asleep on the couch, our old dog curled against my chest. One of us laughing on a road trip, hair messy, sunglasses crooked, no idea of the storm ahead. We didn't delete any of it. We just renamed the folder. Not future. Not past. Just us. And that felt right. Because our story wasn't about what came before or what might come after. It was about choosing each other in the in-between. Every day. Quietly. Deliberately. And when people ask me, how did you do it? How did you stay after something like that? I never give a simple answer. Because there isn't one. What I say instead is this. We didn't stay because we forgot. We stayed because we remembered who we were, what we meant, and what we could still become if we both kept showing up. One day, we might tell our children this story. Maybe not all the details. But enough to show them that love isn't perfect. That people are messy. That healing takes more than time, it takes truth, and pain, and brutal, relentless honesty. And that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is not to leave. But to stay. To rebuild. To forgive without erasing. To choose again. So that's what we did. We chose again. And again. And again. And we still do. Every single day.